This is the Jason Walker Show. Two-time National Sports Media Association Montana Sportscaster of the Year and three-time loser, the Jason Walker Show. The best local and statewide sports coverage, featuring the biggest guests from Montana.
Flint Rasmussen joining us here on the Jason Walker Show.
He's freaking exhausting, too. You used to dance a lot more. Yeah, I know, lady. I'm 51 years old now.
The NAI Hall of Famer Mike Van Diest joining us here, Jason Walker Show. And is it just a deal where quarterbacks have to be good golfers?
Well, that's all they have time for. They don't work out. They don't lift weights. They don't do anything else. They might as well go get on the golf course and at least have some fun.
And from across the country,
Doug Gottlieb, our guest here on the Jason Walker Show.
End of the day, remember, it's your show. It's got your name on it.
Howie Mandel, our guest here.
Jason Walker, deal or no deal?
the Jason Walker Show, presented by Helena Accommodations. The in-town 5-star extended stay residences. Visit HelenaAccommodations.com. Broadcasting from the Major Mortgage Man Cave, here's Jason Walker.
Oh, happy Thursday. Welcome inside the Major Mortgage Man Cave. Jason Walker Show back. I think we've done a week now and we're still on the air, so I guess that's a good thing, as people haven't taken us off the air yet. So appreciate that. Appreciate you for joining us as well on the Facebook live stream, also on the YouTube. Is live now, so you can watch it there. Also listen on TreasureStateRadio.com. If you don't have Treasure State Radio yet, you can download it at Google Play or the App Store. Coming soon, the JasonWalkerShow.com website, and also you can email me anytime at JasonWalkerSports@gmail.com. We got a whole lot of stuff going on. Jason Walker Show is presented by Helena Accommodations, the in-town 5-star extended stay residences. Visit HelenaAccommodations.com. Big show today. We mentioned Brody Grebe from Melstone will join us, actually from Connecticut today, as he was in between classes and lost a basketball game last night, but he signed with Montana State yesterday. We'll get his reasonings on why he decided to sign with the Bobcats and what that means going forward for the Cats, because now they have a ton of great athletes on the roster, and Brody Grebe now just another one that will actually leave Choate Prep School, where he's at right now, and move back to Bozeman, or Montana this Saturday, actually, enroll at Bozeman at Montana State in January, and then start with spring practice and all that. You'll hear why he chose MSU, all of the reasonings behind it. It's fantastic, and it's a good kid. He is a very good kid, and he is going to be at Montana State. So we'll hear from him a little bit later on in the show. Also going to hear from Curt Synness, and Curt is in the building as we get ready. You know, we talked a lot about rodeo this week, and Ty Erickson from Helena winning the PRCA World Championship in steer wrestling, his first title. Well, Helena has a long history of rodeo champions, and not at the PRCA National Finals level per se, but some fantastic history, and Curt's here to break all that down. And who knows, maybe we'll talk... Well, I don't know. Maybe we'll talk the Pittsburgh Steelers or something, too, because Curt's a big Steelers fan, and they're not any good, but neither are the Cowboys, so it doesn't make, either way. But anyway, so that's all coming up. There is all the semifinals for football this week for the FCS. You got Montana State at North Dakota State, and we're going to talk about that, and Weber State at James Madison. Tomorrow I'll give you predictions, but there's another football game this weekend, and... Last weekend was the greatest game of all, with the Army-Navy game each and every year at Philadelphia. But this Saturday, a national championship will be decided. And that is because Morningside, ranked number 1, the defending national champs in the NAIA, will take on Marion, the second-ranked team in the country. And this will be the third meeting between the two. We were going to have Barry Fouts, our longtime friend from Victory Sports Network, come on, but he's actually traveling from Texas to Omaha. His daughter-in-law has got a graduation coming up tomorrow, so he will not be joining us. But he did write a great article about the NAI National Championship game, and if you want to read it at victorysportsnetwork.com, you can. Barry writes fantastic, and we had him on every week for Carroll football games, as long as we did them. But Barry's a great writer, and he's got a great write-up about this weekend. He breaks down the semifinals from a week ago. Of course, no Frontier teams remaining. Obviously, there was only the one in College of Idaho that got beat in the second round. But Morningside's led by Joe Dolinchek, the quarterback. He's a sophomore and started for the first time this year and backed up the 2018 NAI Player of the Year from last year, Morningside, Trent Solzma. And I think Joe Dolinchek's got a great chance to win it this year. For at least one time in his career, he could win. He's got 2 more years after this. He was a stud, and he's got some help, too. Arna J. Ponder, they call him AP, but he's rushed for over 1,700 yards and 23 touchdowns. He's the all-time leading rusher at Morningside, and he's only a junior. This is a very good backfield for Morningside. They've got a very good receiving core, obviously, with a great quarterback leading the way, but they have combined the receiving core, 4 guys, 3,500 yards and 42 touchdowns. They throw the ball a lot. They could run it well, too, but Morningside also, they pass it a ton, 3,500 plus yards. Well, they've only been, the offensive line has only given up 4 sacks on the year. That is fantastic. That's just for Morningside, and that's just their offense. Defensively, they've got some great guys that none of them over 100 tackles, but they're up front, very good. And 8 starters back from the championship team for Morningside that won it last year. Marion on the other side, well, they've got a pretty good running back as well. They've got a guy by the name of Charles Salary. He's a first-team All-America. He's 1,500 plus, almost 1,600 yards this year, 18 touchdowns. Marion only played 9 regular season games this year. So his numbers are a little skewed because he would have had a lot more. And then they've got the quarterback, Ethan Darter, who is very good, 2,200 plus yards, 18 touchdowns. And the O-line just gave up 6 sacks. So the defense for both teams is going to have their work cut out against very good offensive lines, 10 sacks combined all year. So it'll be very good. Marion's defense is very, very solid as well. And you've got Nikai Poiser, 6'1", 240-pounder. He had 113 tackles, 20 tackles for loss on the year. So this is going to be a great matchup on Saturday, and it'll be played at Grambling University, which at Coach Bryant Stadium. Who's the not Bryant? Why can't I think of his name? The longtime coach at Grambling. Anyway, his name, Eddie Robinson Stadium. Thank you, Curt. That's why Curt's here. He's the knowledge. He's our statistician. So anyway, these 2 teams have met up 3 times. All have come in the championship series in the NAI. Marion won in 2012 and also in 2014. In fact, in 2014 they were down 41-21, and this was in the semifinals in 2014. Think of 2014. Marion was down 21-14 at the half, came back and beat Morningside at Morningside 41-21. I bring up 2014 because Marion went to the national championship game where they lost to Southern Oregon, which had beaten Carroll in the quarterfinals. That was the national championship game in that cold, blustery day at Nelson Stadium. Tons of snow on the ground. And Southern Oregon won that quarterfinal game that everybody thinks was the national championship back in 2014. Anyway, SOU then beat Marion in the championship game. So Barry's predicting Marion to win this one 33-27, which is crazy because Barry is a Morningside grad. He never picks against the Mustangs, but I'd have to agree with Barry on this one. I think Marion's going to beat Morningside. We'll find out Saturday after the game in the NAIA championship. You think we forgot about the NAI? We didn't. But with no Frontier team playing and not being on the air for a while, you kind of takes a back seat. But I wanted to bring up that one because that's going to be a fantastic football game. Marion and Morningside at Eddie Robinson Stadium at Grambling. That's in Louisiana, right? He's not even listening to me now.
What?
Grambling's in Louisiana, right? Or is it Mississippi? I should do research for this show. You'd think I've done this before. I
think this is.
I might have to look it up. We'll figure it out.
South Carolina.
I don't think it is. I think it's I think it's in Louisiana.
Okay.
Anyway, but we'll figure it out. We'll let you know if you're really concerned that much. Also, this is a big day in University of Montana women's basketball history. We're gonna share this story a little bit later on. But 25 years ago today, there was a battle at Dahlberg for the ages. and I can't wait to share this story. It was a great write-up on the Grizzly website, gogrizz.com, and I cannot wait to talk about this story. I wish that I was at the game. That's all I can say. It was 25 years ago today. So we'll talk about that coming up. We're also going to check in with the man, Curt Synness, and that's coming up next because there's been some great history of rodeo champions from the state of Montana, and he's going to break them down, or from Helena when we come back. The Jason Walker Show presented by Helena Accommodations. Visit helenaaccommodations.com for all of your extended stay needs. 6 unbelievable buildings downtown, close to Carroll College, and 22 extended stay suites. You can book for 4 days, 4 months, a year, whatever you need for you, family, traveling, friends, business associates. Visit helenaaccommodations.com. We'll be right back. Curt Synness here, Jason Walker Show. And just don't know where to begin? Well, when it comes to one of the most important purchases one can make, we understand it can be frustrating and confusing, but it doesn't have to be. Let the Major Mortgage team help you with all your mortgage needs. Major Mortgage means major service, and we would love the opportunity to help you today. Give J.R. McFadden, NMLS number 1246357, a call today at 406-465-1918, or you can visit him at 2001 11th Avenue, Building A, Suite 3 in Helena. Major Mortgage is a division of AMCAP Mortgage, NMLS number 129122, equal housing lender. Yes, it's true that Montana is a long way from the Gulf Coast, but you can bring that Cajun flavor home with a stop at Cafe Zydeco. From po' boys to classic sandwiches, Cafe Zydeco has all the best Cajun in town. Are you in the mood for seafood gumbo or crawfish etouffee? Maybe you're craving jambalaya with some shrimp and grits. Head in for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, or call ahead for pickup or delivery. Cafe Zydeco will fix all your southern cravings, even on a chilly Montana day. Cafe Zydeco is a proud sponsor of the Jason Walker Show. Jason Walker Show back inside the Major Mortgage Man Cave on a Tuesday. No, what is today? Thursday today. Jeez. I sometimes actually do prep for this show, I promise. I do it every day. I'm just excited because we're going to talk about a great thing that took place in Montana women's basketball history on this date 25 years ago. Also, on this day in history, it's coming up, the walk-off as well. And Brody Grebe will join us, the Millstone/Roundup standout who spent the fall at Choate Prep Academy out in Connecticut. He will join us a little bit later and tell us why he chose Montana State over everybody else, including some Ivy League schools and the academies as well. So appreciate you sticking with us here on TreasureStateRadio.com, also on the Facebook and the YouTube live streams as we try to have a little bit of fun here on the Jason Walker Show. And I'm not sure what happened, but let's try that again. Anyway, if you lost the Facebook stream, we'll get it right back up. Anyway, we want to bring in now the man who is in, well, he knows a lot about a lot of things. His name is Curt Synness, and he joins us now here on the Jason Walker Show. How are you, my friend?
I'm good, and if I don't know it, I'll make it up.
Well, that's what we do in media, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So Curt's going to talk a little bit about rodeo because we had this idea. Well, actually, you came up with the idea earlier this week because Ty Erickson won the World Steer Wrestling Championship, his first ever title, and a lot of Montanans did well, but Ty being from Helena got you thinking. There's been some great rodeo athletes in Helena history, and we're going to go way back, or like a way back machine here.
Way back, yeah, over 100 years ago. Yeah, so Ty was the first official PRCA local world rodeo champion, but there were a few others, and what got me thinking about it was I actually did a story on this in 2010, and it was for the 50th anniversary of the Last Chance Stampede. So I wrote a series on the Last Chance Stampede, so some of this will be Last Chance centric, but I'm just going to start reading from July 30th of 2010. The final segment of our series on the history of the Last Chance Stampede covers 4 local cowboys and cowgirls who attained the pinnacle of their profession: Fanny Sperry Steele, Marvin Butch Joyce, and Elmer and Ruth Nettleton. Fanny Sperry Steele 1887 to 1985. Learned to ride and break horses while growing up on the Sperry's homestead below the Sleeping Giant. So they were neighbors of my great grandparents, Ole and Maggie Synness, right below the Sleeping Giant. We were the closest to the mountain, and they were. So it was the Synnesses, the Sperrys, and then the Hilgers.
Oh, wow.
When she was just 2 years old, she told her, see, there were a bunch of wild horses, Mustangs out on the, all over Montana back in the 1880s still. A bunch of them out at the Sleeping Giant. It wasn't called the Sleeping Giant then, it was called Beartooth Mountain. Anyway, she told her folks, I'm going to catch me a white-faced horsey. She was 2 years old.
Very nice.
She participated in her first rodeo at Mitchell in 1903, so she would have been 16 years old, competing against the men. Although the last chance stampede did not take place until long after she retired, Sperry took part in relay races at the fairgrounds at the Montana State Fair from 1904 to 1906 with teammate Curt Synness, and I'll get back to that if I remember. Before returning to rodeo, the trend of the era required women to hobble the stirrups under the horse's belly when they rode saddle bronc. But Fanny shunned this method, always riding her mounts slick, just like the men. In 1912, she entered the very first Calgary Stampede, drawing a horse called Red Wing, which had killed cowboy Joe Lamar several days earlier. Sperry made one of the most historic rides in rodeo history. She collected $1,000 for the first place trophy, first place money, and I figured that out once, and that's $27,000. So here's a female athlete 107 years ago that made $27,000 riding a bronc.
That is awesome.
So think about that. She won a $300 gold belt buckle, a hand-tooled saddle, which family members wish they knew what happened to. It has disappeared somewhere. And the title Lady Bucking Horse Champion of the World. After marrying Bill Steele, Fanny successfully retained her title at the 1913 Winnipeg Stampede. She continued to compete in rodeos until 1925, retiring at the age of 38. The Steeles then operated a dude ranch on a Rastra Creek near Lincoln for the next 35 years. Fanny trailed 25 head of pintos the 70 miles across the Continental Divide to winter at the Sleeping Giant. One of her annual stops was at Elmer Nettleton's folks' ranch near Canyon Creek. Quote, oh yeah, Fanny always stayed overnight at our place on her trips. Usually one of the Hilger girls was with her, so the Sperrys and the Hilgers intermarried. Recalled Nettleton. This was in 2010. At that time, he was 81. I believe he's still alive, which would make him 90 years old.
Wow.
She sure loved her horses, even though some of them were the dangest knotheads, unquote. In 1975, Sperry Steele became a charter member of the Rodeo Hall of Fame. In 1978, she was inducted into the Cowgirls Hall of Fame. But in 1968, Fanny Sperry Steele, so she would have been, in 68, she would have been like 75, 73 years old, something like that.
79, right?
She was born in 87.
Yeah, so...
So 68 plus 13, 78. She would have been in her 80s, 81.
Wow.
Fanny, she rode in the Last Chance Stampede Parade, which, there's hardly anything of that parade, but that used to be a big deal, this Stampede Parade. And she entered the Cowgirls category. And unbelievably, she took second place.
Oh, wow.
So it's probably the only time she's ever lost, in her career.
Right.
And
I just put her picture up on, so you can see it on the Facebook and the YouTube. But she was a good-looking young lady.
Well, I tell people she could outride most of the men. People would travel, hundreds of miles around to have her break their horses.
Oh, wow.
Their wild horses. She could outwork most of the men, and she was drop-dead gorgeous.
Yeah,
so,
very attractive.
Back to Curt Synness for a minute. That was my great-aunt, and Christine and Fanny started racing horses to the Mitchell School. They were neighbors, although my aunt My great aunt lived on just over the North Hill, so she had to ride quite a few miles to meet up with Fanny. They would race back and forth to the Mitchell School. Now, the Mitchell School, the building, is one of the rooms in the Sebin Ranch. You know, the big sheep ranch. So that's part of the house there. Anyway, they were best friends. Christine later on married a guy by the name of Craig Montana. Last name was Craig. She had a son, and shortly after childbirth, she died. She passed away at a very young age. And my dad tells me, and other folks that I've talked to that knew Fanny, that she couldn't talk about Christine without tears coming to her eyes. So, okay, next up, Marvin Butch Joyce of East Helena is the only local area cowboy to win a national finals rodeo average championship. I think Ty got second once, and
he did not win the average this year.
No, didn't win the average. Chase Tryon, I believe, may have taken second in average.
He took third this year.
Third overall, and
he was up there in the average because if they had caught Saturday, he'd have won the world championship too.
Right, that's right.
Yep.
Yeah. So anyway, Joyce said he cut his teeth rodeoing with men like Walt Holland and Elmer Nettleton. There's Elmer again. Quote, Elmer had a barn built on his place where a group of guys were able to practice wrestling steers in the wintertime, recalled Joyce, who is in town. He was in town at that time 9 years ago from Texas this week, attending the 50th anniversary of the Last Chance Stampede. Quote, there was Walt, Elmer, Jim Harris, Don Blixt. Don Blixt just went into the Montana Cowboy Hall of Fame, by the way, or is going in. Dick Kelly, Pal Palmer, and myself, and that group made a tough nucleus of steer wrestlers, Marvin said. At the Stampede, Nettleton garnered the 1966 crown, while Blixt finished runner-up in 1966. Marvin's best showing at the Stampede came in 1971 when he took runner-up in the Saddle Broncs. So he never won his own local rodeo, which is kind of, I don't know if, maybe it's not that unusual. The East Helena started making a name for himself nationally in 1968 when he posted his lifetime best time in bulldogging in just 3.2 seconds in Lethbridge, Alberta. The Rodeo Cowboys Association selected him as its 1969 Saddle Bronc Rookie of the Year.
Wow.
Among Joyce's championships were the steer wrestling title in Houston in 71 and the 1972 Cheyenne Frontier Days Saddle Bronc crown. At the 1972 NFR in Oklahoma City, he won the 6th and 10th go-rounds, earning the Saddle Bronc Average Championship. He was one of only 2 cowboys to ride all 10 broncs at the NFR and finish the year as the 9th leading money winner in the world. Joyce explained that appearing in the Last Chance Stampede was always a thrill because it gave you a chance to perform in front of the people who supported you. He told me back then, quote, I always felt privileged to compete at my hometown rodeo.
So that sounds almost identical to what I have heard Ty Erickson say. Because he's won the Stampede before, but
yes, he has.
To come back and compete in Helena, Guy Nordahl says the same thing. You know, the Nordahls all from the Helena area and stuff. He says when you come back to here, there's just something special about the Last Chance Stampede, and to win at that is even better.
Right, exactly. So that's probably one thing. Yeah, one of the few things missing from Marvin's resume, but yeah. So now we jump to Elmer and Ruth Nettleton, as well as neighbor Walt Holland, have been longtime rodeo icons on the Valley's Flowery Drive. Elmer first started riding broncs when he was about 16 years old under the instruction of Paul Christians. Paul didn't have a driver's license, so I had to drive him to the rodeos, recalled Nettleton, and I couldn't afford a saddle, so he always loaned me his, unquote. And I'm pretty sure I have this right. When I was a painter for Helena Housing Authority all those years, I'm pretty sure Paul Christians was one of our tenants, and I'm pretty sure it was him. And I painted his apartment while he was
Very nice.
while he was living there. Okay. After a hitch in the Army and marrying Ruth in 1951, he switched to bulldogging along with buddy Jim Harris. In the winter, they practiced on the frozen ground before the barn was built, and many of those sessions, Ruth served as her husband's hazer. I remember interviewing these two in their living room, and this was quite a thrill. Quote, he'd yell at me, "You're not getting close enough," unquote, and I'd have to show him the scars on my legs from the horns, unquote, she said.
That is so funny.
Yeah, so Elmer's memories of Joyce, Marvin, were that of a young kid. Most people call him Butch, but young kid, he was pretty green, but was also a quick study. Quote, when Walt Holland first brought Butch over, he was just starting out, so we showed him a few things, and he took it from there, unquote, Nettleton said of the future NFR average champ. Quote, Elmer and Ruth Nettleton were very prominent in helping me along with my career, Joyce said. They have a special knack for training horses, and Elmer was a master bulldogging technician, unquote. Nettleton owns one NRA year-end championship and one Montana Rodeo Association runner-up on his resume. So that former Montana Rodeo Association, that is currently the circuit championship.
Okay. Montana PRCA.
PRCA Circuit Championship. After retiring from the NRA in 1979, his wife took up the sport when she was 54 years old, which is amazing.
Yeah.
The Nettletons competed together on the Senior Pro Rodeo Tour for the next 15 years. So that's what it was called. It was the Senior Pro Rodeo Tour. Between 1993 and 1998, Ruth garnered 4 world championships in barrel racing, ribbon roping, and that was a team event with Elmer, and the all-around.
Mm.
And I remember Elmer saying about his wife when they would do that ribbon roping, she had to, I can't remember how the event entailed, but I just remember him saying, she ran like a deer. She could run like a deer, he said. They also took the reserve championship 3 times, and Elmer finished runner-up in seniors team roping twice. One of their traveling partners was Benny Reynolds, former world champion, all-around world champion. 1961 PRCA all-around world champion Benny Reynolds from either Melrose or Melstone. I always get those two mixed up. Quote, the Nettletons are 2 of the finest people I've ever met, unquote, Marvin Joyce said.
So there you go.
That was my story from 2010.
Well, no, that's fantastic because we mentioned Ty Erickson winning, and it seems to me like we've always known how great Montana rodeo people are because there is a ton of great ones. And we're going to talk to Brody Grebe later on. Brody was a 4-sport athlete in track, basketball, football, and rodeo, and down at Melstone. He was from Melstone.
Okay.
Yeah, Melstone and Roundup area. But yeah, I mean, rodeo in the state of Montana is unbelievable, and we're so lucky right here because you talk about some of the best stock. Well, the Sankeys are from Montana, the Brookmans, Powder River is just across the border in Wyoming, but then you've got right in our backyard out here the Kesslers.
Right. Well, what I think is pretty cool is there are 3 guys from the Helena Rodeo Club that finished in the top 10 this year.
Mm-hmm.
And the third guy being Chase Brooks, the saddle bronc rider, even though he's from Deer Lodge.
Right.
He rode with the Helena Rodeo Club. So 3 guys from the small rodeo club in Little Helena, Montana, in the top 10 at the NFR overall standings is pretty special, I think.
Well, you talk about Ty, and he's so good. But when you look at Chase, the 2 years and making back-to-back appearances in the national finals, in saddle bronc
before he was there a few times before. So this is like his 4th or 5th time.
Yeah, and Ty been there. But the Tryon family, how good is that family? When you talk about, I mean, Terry K. Kirkland, the mom of Chase, Tryon, and then Clay is or Chase, mom of Clay and Brady, and then Chase is the cousin, or Clay is the Chase is the cousin.
Right.
You knew what I was trying to say.
Chase's dad is Rick. I've got a funny story about that.
Yes.
So Chase's dad is Rick, and his mother is Lori Keeler, and they owned, the dad started Capital Sports, Keelers.
Okay.
So this was a few years ago. I wrote about Chase. We named him our Independent Record Athlete of the Year. And I got a phone number for Lori Tryon. So Lori Keeler Tryon. So I would communicate with her because it's usually, these guys are kind of hard to get a hold of, because they're busy when they're rodeoing. So I would get information from her, and I had her in my phone as Lori Tryon, and I would text, and I'd get an answer. And this went on for, I think, at least a couple years. And I would always start out to text Lori, and they would always answer. And then a couple years later, I got an answer back and said, and answered me. And, I said, thanks, Lori. And she says, oh, by the way, this is actually Rick. This is my phone.
Oh, geez.
So I had been texting that number thinking it was Lori, and the whole time it was Rick.
Wow.
So, but anyway, kind of.
The Tryon family in the state of Montana. I mean, and then you talked about Don Blix last week. I think he's in your calendar this year.
Shannon.
Oh, Shannon Blix is in the calendar.
Shannon.
Well, I was going to bring up.
We talked about him last
week. So Shannon,
his son Shannon,
the Blixt family name.
Blixt family
is unbelievable too.
Yeah, and then the granddaughter, Shelby.
Yes.
Shelby Blixt Gill. So.
Yep, Shelby Gill.
Barrel racer.
Yep.
Yeah. So.
And then, you talk about the Helena Rodeo Club for the high schoolers. It is such a great, and it has sent so many youngsters off to A, the high school finals, or B, off to colleges.
Yeah.
Well, Miss Last Chance Stampede this year, Hunter Brewer, was just named in July at the Stampede. She's down at Western in rodeo, or is she up at Northern? She's at Western, I believe.
Okay.
Kayla Murphy rodeoed at Montana State for a long time.
Yeah.
For 4 years. Kevin Rosinski from Boulder. There's another one.
Yes.
So the Boulder Townsend, Tanner Terrialt out at Townsend right now is a great bull rider on the Northern Rodeo. So this area is loaded.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them. And I liked in your interview when was your interview with the fellow?
Oh, Haven Medjid from Miles City.
You talked about the rodeo competitors being a family, and they are. I mean, they're rooting just as much. When they're out there, they're competing as hard as they can to win and beat the other guys. But they don't root against the other guys. They root for them. They help them out. They haze for them. They borrow them. They loan them horses, saddles, whatever they need.
No, it's amazing, and
it's a family.
It definitely is, and I've talked about that a lot. But as Curt Synness, our guest here, Jason Walker Show, you brought this up in a text message to me because you were listening. I made it up brought it up during the interview, but. It doesn't matter if you're from Montana or Washington or Oregon or wherever, but if you have that southern drawl, or if you're a rodeo, you have to have that southern drawl.
Yeah, I call it the PRCA southern drawl.
It is amazing.
It's like the Nordahl family. Kevin's got it, but his brother Skeeter does not have it.
It's just amazing to me.
It's interesting, yeah.
Are working on the feed for Facebook and YouTube right now, but you still can listen on TreasureStateRadio.com. And if you don't have Treasure State Radio, download it Google Play or the App Store. All right, so you were here last week talking about your calendar. I have it hanging up just off of your right shoulder.
Cool.
The 13-month calendar, because you added December of this year.
I might go back to 12 next time, but we'll see.
Oh, I like it.
It is 13.
Because now I get to hang it up now. I don't have to wait till January.
That's true.
Yeah.
We'll see.
You signed last night. You got a signing coming up this weekend.
Yes, Saturday morning, 11 in the morning till 1 in the afternoon for a couple hours at Buzz Boutique. That's my wife's shop on 424 North Last Chance Gulch. So there'll be free coffee.
Ooh.
And free lies, so come on down. They're $20 a piece, and that's cheap.
I was going to ask you how much are the calendars, but you have a deal if you buy 4, right?
4 for $70. Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Well, that's a good deal.
Yeah.
So.
I work cheap.
Well, you are, because I'm not paying you.
Oh yeah. Oh. And by the way, there's a 10% donation. Since I'm making money on these people telling their stories. I mean, they did the work. I'm just writing about it.
Right.
Since I'm making some money off that, to clear my conscience, I'm donating 10% of all my sales to both schools' boosters clubs. So 5% for each school. So
very nice. Well, you've gotten awards from both schools, haven't you?
Yeah, well.
So you're giving back. They gave to you. Now you're giving back.
That's true. Yeah.
Well, you've been around a long time. You got some great stories, and you've written some great stories, and there's more to come, I'm sure.
I've had some great people to write about, and
well,
a lot of them out there.
Like I said last week, someday I hope to make your calendar as an announcer, and maybe you can write a story about me someday. Probably not.
I plan
maybe
on
my
that.
obituary.
No, no, I'm waiting for you to be a 4-time loser before you make my list. You're only 3 now.
Well, so actually, that if you miss it, it's in the open. But so yes, I've won twice. The National Sports Media Association, Montana Sportscaster of the Year. It's voted on by peers in the state of Montana. So yeah, I've been a finalist 5 times overall. Okay. So that's where you get the 2 wins and 3-time loser. So I'm like the New York Mets because they've been to the World Series 5 times. They've won 2, lost 3. But I have not been twice. I was not a finalist. I was nominated, but didn't get into the finalists. So that's where that ends up.
Okay, so that's different than being a 3-time loser in the big house. The penitentiary.
Right.
You don't want to be okay.
No.
Good.
Hold on. Let me see if there's the rim shot for Curt. Yeah, I'll give you. And this is my thoughts. Just the crickets. I don't get to use this much, so I gotta use it. You by the way, Curt. Before we let you go, you write great stories in the IR about veterans. You got a good one coming up?
I've got.
Well, maybe your last one.
The last one I did was about the Marysville 5+1, which was just a recycle of something I did in 2002, and man, I had like 28 shares on it. From Facebook. I couldn't believe it. So and I knew Bob O'Connell. I used to sit with his wife, his widow Ruth, at the Legion baseball, so her 3 grandsons were Bob Jr.'s sons. A couple of them played for the Bobcats, O'Connells. Tyson O'Connell.
Oh, yeah.
Dubois, Dustin O'Connell. So that's the same family. But yeah, that was my last story. And I thought it was interesting being from a small town like Marysville, Montana, to have 5 guys that joined the same day, and we're in the Battle of the Bulge, and I don't know what kind of language I can use here, but they kicked the Nazis' ass. That's perfect. So. You can say that. Just don't drop an F-bomb and you'll be fine. Because we all know how that works out. But I didn't do it on radio. It was on Twitter. Anyway, Curt, we appreciate it as always. Looking forward to a couple of weeks. Have a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Merry Christmas and thank you. That is Curt Synness. And don't forget, Saturday morning, Buzz Boutique, 11 to 1. Yep. So Saturday brunch time. Yeah. Because it's not really Saturday morning into afternoon. It's like a nooner, yeah. Nooners are good. Yeah. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. The Jason Walker Show. We will check in with the newest member of the Montana State Bobcats. His name is Brody Grebe, and he will join us right next on the Jason Walker Show. Have you thought about buying a home and just... Have you thought about buying a home and just don't know where to begin? Well, when it comes to one of the most important purchases one can make, we understand it can be frustrating and confusing, but it doesn't have to be. Let the Major Mortgage team help you with all your mortgage needs. Major Mortgage means major service, and we would love the opportunity to help you today. Give J.R. McFadden, NMLS number 1246357, a call today at 406-465-1918, or you can visit him at 2001 11th Avenue, Building A, Suite 3 in Helena. Major Mortgage is a division of AMCAP Mortgage, NMLS number 129122, equal housing lender.
Everyone knows about Dinners Done Right and the convenience of the cook and carry cuisines. It's so easy to just stop by and you have something for dinner that night. But there's also one more thing you need to know about. Dinners Done Right Grab and Go Salad Bar. Yes, I said salad bar. Always the freshest ingredients, along with a daily soup and nacho bar too. So the next time you are in a rush or you just want to eat healthy, stop by Dinners Done Right for the soup, salad, and nacho bar. For monthly menus and more info, it's dinnersdoneright.com.
Welcome back to the Jason Walker Show.
Oh, welcome back, Jason Walker Show. You're inside the Major Mortgage Man Cave. Appreciate you joining us on a variety of platforms. You can listen to us at treasurestateradio.com. You can download that app on the Google Play Store or at the App Store. You can also watch us anytime on facebook.com/The Jason Walker Show. Twitter as well with comments if you have any at JWalker Sports, at Jason Walker Show. YouTube live as well. Search The Jason Walker Show. Everything's The Jason Walker Show. So if you get confused, just type in Jason Walker Show and somewhere it'll show up somewhere, I think. And email me anytime, jasonwalkersports@gmail.com. We'll have a new website coming up shortly too. Looking forward to that. So anyway, let me turn this off now. I like having music beds, right? It's good. It adds in to the atmosphere. So, thanks to Curt Synness for joining us. That was so much fun. I love getting a historical update from Curt. And it's just like, talking to Curt about Helena history is like talking to Rocky Erickson about Montana high school history for the whole state. Because those two guys know so much. Joe Cusack, who was let go at the Billings Gazette recently, another one who is fantastic. The historical aspect of sports in the state of Montana is unbelievable. It's unparalleled, and I love chatting about it. In fact, we got a great story coming up about something that happened 25 years ago today over in Missoula, and that is on the way here in a little bit. But I want to get to our interview that he signed yesterday with the Montana State Bobcats. Had a great high school career at Melstone and Roundup, quarterback, and unbelievable basketball player and great track athlete, as well as a pretty good rodeo athlete as well. But Brody Grebe has been at Choate Prep School out in Connecticut since August, and yesterday signed with the Montana State Bobcat football team. And he joins us now here on the Jason Walker Show. All right, Brody. So first off, congratulations signing with Montana State. What goes into that decision for you?
Mainly it comes down to a couple things. Coming home, being able to play in front of my family and friends in home state is the main thing. And just the love for the state of Montana and people having my back in Montana. And overall, I felt like it was the best fit for me.
Now, you had offers all over the place coming right out of high school or even before graduation at Melstone there, but going off to Choate Prep, and that's a pretty prestigious prep school where, JFK went back in the 30s. Why that decision, and how much did that help you make this decision in the long run?
Well, it definitely helped me. Coming into Choate, I didn't have a clear idea exactly on what I wanted to do.
All right, Brody. So first off, congratulations signing with Montana State. What goes into that? Little technical difficulties, so we'll get Brody back here in a second. But so Brody heading off to Montana State as we continue to work on getting him back, and we'll have him hopefully here in a couple of minutes as we get back going into the swing of things. But apologize for the technical difficulties. Let's see if we have him back. Let's go. We might have to listen to the whole thing again. Here we go.
Signing with Montana State. What goes into that decision for you?
Mainly, it comes down to a couple things. Coming home, being able to play in front of my family and friends in home state is the main thing. And just the love for the state of Montana and people having my back in Montana. And overall, I felt like it was the best fit for me.
Now, you had offers all over the place coming right out of high school or even before graduation at Millstone there, but going off to Choate Prep, and that's a pretty prestigious prep school where, JFK went back in the 30s. Why that decision, and how much did that help you make this decision in the long run?
Well, it definitely helped me. Coming into Choate, I didn't have a clear idea exactly on what I wanted to do, whether it be basketball, football, if I wanted to stay home, if I wanted to go out somewhere else. And after Choate, everything's just cleared up. And coming out here, it's made me more mature. And I've definitely learned some things. And while I was out here, I learned that I want to be back in Montana. And I want to play football, and I want to play for my home state.
And choosing Montana State, and I saw the press conference with Coach Choate yesterday, but, and you even said to 406 MT Sports that you're bringing some Choate gear to Coach Choate, and he's going to, you get to play for Coach Choate for the next 4 years. There's a lot of connections there, and it's kind of a cool deal, and it's even spelled the same.
Yeah, it's crazy how coaches know other coaches around the world.
With Coach Choate, what was the biggest selling point for him in Montana State to you?
Well, definitely a great program. Coach Choate's built it up. Meant playoffs last year, obviously playoffs this year, playing in the semifinals. But mainly I just felt like it was a good fit. I love all those guys. Got buddies on the team. And just the fan base is great. You go to a game and the atmosphere is just fired up, ecstatic. Everyone's going crazy. So
Coach,
you have a reason to play when you go there.
Definitely is. Brody Grebe joining us here, the Jason Walker Show, signing with Montana State and catching us, or we're catching him while he's in between classes. I figure out right at Choate Prep.
Yep.
You're coming home Saturday though, so you're enrolling at Montana State for the spring semester, and kind of get a jump start. You didn't want to finish out at Choate. You wanted to get going right away back in Bozeman.
Yep. Get some spring ball in, lift, figure out the program. Get some classes out of the way for engineering. That's the major I want to do. It's not going to be an easy one, but I think this spring semester will help me get some classes out of the way.
Definitely is. Brody Grebe joining us here on the Jason Walker Show. So what's a typical day like for you at Choate? I mean, we've seen movies about prep schools and all that, but what's a typical day like for you?
Mainly, it's like a college, pretty much. It's like a college campus, block schedule, like a college, but it's with high school students. So there's going to be freshmen walking around, and I'm 19 years old, so that's really weird. But at the same time, they don't mess around with the academic side of this. They're very hardcore with it. And you come out of here with a great education, and you're definitely more ready for college. Athletic side, you go down after school day and put your work in, and then you got to be back in for study hours at 9:30, and you get checked in. So it's very strict, but at the same time, they keep you in check. So,
do you have to wear a uniform?
No, I don't.
Okay.
There are some prep schools out here that you're required to wear uniforms, but at Choate you're not.
So you get to wear your little, I was talking to Rocky Erickson about this in the summer. So you basically get to wear your cowboy hat and cowboy boots, and and everybody else out there is not quite used to that.
No, when I tell people about my background, they're just like shocked. They can't imagine some kid from small town Montana that rides horses and has cows and being here at Choate. So
It's pretty cool deal for you, definitely. Did you talk to anybody besides family and Montana State about making this decision?
Some of the other coaches that I got offers from, actually, that I told that I wasn't completely interested, like Army. One of the coaches there was a really good advisor for me. He helped me out a lot and gave me advice, as well as my football coach here at Choate, my basketball coach, and yeah, they just gave me advice. And you got to narrow it down to the things that you really think are important and what you want with your life. And it narrowed it down to Montana State, and I think it's going to be the best place for me. So.
Well, I know there's a lot of Bobcat fans that are very excited to see you play as one of those athletes. Coach Choate kind of compared you to a Travis Johnson or Troy Anderson. Have you settled? I mean, have you talked to him about in the offense about how exactly you're going to be used?
Yeah, so he wants me to use me on defense for an outside linebacker type guy where I can rush off the edge and get some pass coverage if I need to and do about anything. And then on offense, he thinks I can play a little wildcat quarterback, which this spring semester will help me figure both of those out.
Sure.
So,
what's your major going to be?
Engineering, mechanical engineering.
You're super smart, aren't you?
I guess.
And humble, I can tell. You were a 4-sport athlete in high school. Any thoughts of MSU rodeo too?
I've talked to the coaches, but I don't know necessarily yet. I might be able to do it in the spring if I wanted.
I don't know if Coach Choate will let you though. I mean, you're a star football recruit. Well, you could do like a couple of the guys and do it after your playing career.
Yeah, or in the summer or something when I got some time. So.
Yeah, see, there you go. What's your best event in rodeo?
I don't know for sure. I went to the national finals in calf roping and steer wrestling different years in high school.
Right.
But I'd probably say calf roping is my best.
Well, and roping would be a little bit safer while you're playing football.
Yeah, true.
But then you could become the next Ty Erickson, right? You know, you go to MSU and then you head off to and win a national finals rodeo title somewhere down the road.
Yeah, or Haven Midget.
There you go. I like it. Haven Midget. There you go. Even better.
Yeah.
Are you and Haven pretty close?
Yeah. I've roped with him before, roped against him. We went to high school rodeos together, so I know him really well. It's good to see these Montana guys going and doing some work at the NFR.
So did you stay in dorm rooms? As Brody Grebe joining us, Jason Walker Show, a couple final questions, but did you stay in dorm rooms out at Choate, or is it like apartments, or what are we talking about?
Yeah, it's a day and boarding school. So there's kids from the surrounding area that drive to school every day, and then there's also a lot of boarding students. We live in dorms. There's multiple dorms on campus. Some of them are like houses. So we have 14 kids in my house, and they're just split into different rooms, and we have dorm advisors that watch over us as well.
Gotcha. So obviously you made some pretty close friends in your few months out there.
Yeah, definitely. I'm gonna miss these guys. The last couple of days, we've been hanging out a lot, and they're all mad I'm leaving, but they're happy for me. They know that this is a big time opportunity, and it's gonna make me better. So.
Well, we appreciate you joining us in Connecticut. What's the weather like today?
It's a little chilly. Probably like 20, 30 degrees. It's not so bad, though.
It's a little like home, but a little bit more humid, right?
Yeah, exactly right. So it like feels different all the time.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, very cool. Well, Brody, we're looking forward to seeing you in a Bobcat uniform, and congratulations. I know this was a tough decision for you, but in the end, many feel that you made the right one, but congratulations, and we'll see you this spring around Bozeman.
Thank you, Jason.
Brody Grebe joining us here, Jason Walker Show from Connecticut. What a great dude. Very humble, like we said in the interview, but love chatting with him. He's going to have a lot of success at Montana State, and there's no doubt about that. All right, let's get to this day in sports history. And it is a big day. In 1917, the first NHL game was played on artificial ice in Toronto. First time. In 1920, the first U.S. indoor curling rink opened in Brookline, Massachusetts. Raging Bull with Robert De Niro as boxer Jake LaMotta debuted in theaters on this day, 1980. And we're going to do the walk-off with Cafe, brought to you by Cafe Zydeco, as one of my favorite stories I've read recently. So let's do the intro. Maybe. Good Lord. I got to figure this out. Maybe? Are we going to play? Apparently not. All right, so I don't know what... Oh,
The show.
There we go.
What did we learn? And what did he miss? Time for the walk-off.
Oh, man. I'll get this figured out, I promise. People are sitting there going, dude, do you know how to do radio? No, I don't. 20 years in the business. But anyway, all right, let's get to the walk-off. And it's brought to you by Cafe Zydeco on Euclid and Helena. Tomorrow, we're going to give away our first gift certificate to Cafe Zydeco. You're going to love it. We'll do it with probably a trivia question tomorrow. But anyway, this day in sports history continues into the walk-off. So 25 years ago today, Montana women's basketball, the Lady Grizz, hosted a game at Dahlberg Arena. There was 8,371 in Dahlberg as attendance, and the number one team in the country was in town against the Lady Grizz. It was the University of Tennessee. Women's basketball coach Pat Summitt brought the Lady Grizz to Montana for a non-conference game and barely beat the Lady Grizz. 66-61 was the final. Tennessee had won 3 national championships at that point. They played in the national championship that year, won 34 games in 1994. Pat Summitt, of course, 38 years as the head coach, 1,098 victories. Robin Selvig, the Lady Grizz coach, retired after 38 years as well a few years ago. But it's a great story to read on gogrizz.com. I'm not sure who wrote the article, but it is a fantastic story. And there's a bunch of folks that recap their thoughts. Shannon Schwayen, who was then Shannon Kate in her second season as assistant with the Lady Grizz, had some great comments as well. They talk about Pat Summitt and her legendary career in this article. Robin Selvig as well. Grizz finished 23-5 that year, but did not make the NCAA tournament because they lost to Montana State in the Big Sky Conference Championship game in Bozeman that year. Tennessee was ranked number 1, and it was a great game. 66-61 was the final. So if you get a chance to go read that article, I highly recommend it. But the walk-off presented by Cafe Zydeco, po' boys, beignets, and oh man, you got fried pickles, fried okra. Go check it out on Euclid. Tomorrow, gift certificate we'll give away here on the Jason Walker Show with Cafe Zydeco. And we want to thank our guest today, Curt Synness. Also, Brody Grebe for joining us. And we have the new camera. We got 3 cameras now. And since Kurt's not sitting in his seat, you don't see it there. But looking forward to moving on. Tomorrow, Friday, we wrap up the week. News with Jay Scott coming up on TreasureStateRadio.com. And tomorrow we'll be joined. It is Flint Friday. Fridays with Flint, as Flint Rasmussen will check in with us. We'll get his thoughts on the NFR, the PBR, Jess Lockwood, a whole lot more. All coming up tomorrow. Flint Rasmussen on the Jason Walker Show. Until then, we'll see you then, right here. Goodbye.
It's produced by the Jason Walker Media Company. Any reuse, rebroadcast, or retransmission without the express written consent of the Jason Walker Show is strictly prohibited. Just listen, watch, and enjoy.